a fellow at the Middle East Council on Global Affairs. Really good to have you back with us, Omar. This report by Human Rights Watch is just the latest in a string of reports from other NGOs since Israel's war on Gaza began, essentially accusing Israel of atrocities, of war crimes, but also pointing to the international community, saying that it's essentially allowing Israel to continue such alleged abuses. Why, in your view, is this continuing more than 18 months on?
First of all, thank you for having me. I mean, it's continuing because it's impossible at the moment to hold Israel accountable. I mean, it boils down simply, to a matter of realpolitik. The international system itself, which, as you see, is condemning Israel for what it's doing, including the United Nations, including the International Criminal Court and the International Court of Justice. But those systems, those institutions, have no enforcement mechanism. They rely on various countries to hold Israel accountable and to police what's happening. The responsibility to protect, for states to go in there and do that. Nobody's willing to do that because the other simple fact is that the Israelis and their supporters in Washington and the United States have effectively captured the American political system. And so, the United States protects Israel. And when the world superpower protects Israel, nobody wants to cross the United States. What are they going to do? And so, the United States is out there even threatening judges in the International Criminal Court. It threatens countries from involving themselves. And other countries with relations that depend on the United States are unwilling to cross it. And so Israel has sort of a free hand to do what it wants. It's supported by the United States. And so it's continuing to get away with what it's getting away with, unfortunately.
There have been a few examples whereby Israeli attacks on civilians as well as aid workers have caused outrage. The one that comes to mind is Israel's attack on the World Central Kitchen workers. That did spark a global outcry, but that seems to have lasted a short time in the scheme of things, because once the outrage died down, Israel continued on with its attacks, and we see this cycle repeating time and time again. At what point do you think might the international community finally step in and say enough is enough?
Well, there's been, the entirety of this 18-month genocide has sparked international outrage. There are moments in which even Israel's backers get embarrassed, like when those aid workers were killed. But at the end of the day, those dynamics that I described in my first answer are still in play, and therefore it's very difficult to hold Israel accountable. The United States continues to protect Israel despite what it's doing. There were just reports from the media showing that the Biden administration, in actuality, had never even pushed Israel for a ceasefire when it was in power, despite what it was saying publicly, that behind the scenes it wasn't even doing that. And so it's very difficult to change those dynamics. At the same time, there are, things changing. The international balance of power is changing. The U.S. is a little bit less dominant overall. These are longer-term trajectories that may change things overall. And what Trump is doing is, in power, he's harming U.S. alliances. He's acting in a very unpredictable way. Those kind of things may affect things. At the same time, Israel may evade accountability at the moment. But what's become inescapable for Israel is the fact that it's committed a genocide in the eyes of the entire world. Everybody in the world has access to what Israel is doing through the cell phones, the mobile phones of the people in Gaza who are documenting their own genocide. And that is why international public opinion has changed dramatically. While Israel is reliant on the U.S. so fundamentally for being able to do this, there was just a Pew Research poll that came out, and Pew is one of the most reputable, if not the most reputable, polling institution in the United States, showing that 53% of adult Americans hold a negative opinion of Israel. 50% of American Republicans that are under the age of 50 now hold a negative opinion of Israel. And among the Democrats, it's like in the 80%. So Israel is losing American public opinion. That might not translate immediately into a break in the relationship, but it portends very badly for Israel in the long term. And I think Israel is damning itself in the long term. It still clutches on to power. It still holds the American political system hostage, so to speak. But longer term, I mean, these trends are changing in the negative for Israel, I think.
When it comes to this Trump administration, it does seem like it's more concerned with other issues, including global trade and perhaps ending the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Do you believe that because publicly the Trump administration really hasn't been pushing more recently for an end to the Gaza war, that it's essentially giving Israel carte blanche to do as it wants and allowing Israel to basically call the shots?
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I don't think this specific issue is a big priority issue. The American media is not covering it, and therefore, it's not on everybody's minds. It's not a pressure point for the administration. Trump is more worried about the economy, about his protectionist policies. When it comes to international issues, he's concerned with Iranian nuclear negotiations. He's concerned with the Houthis and breaking their stranglehold over Red Sea passage, and he's concerned with the Ukraine war and Russia because that has it's caught more of his interest. What's happening in Gaza is not a big priority. There's not a lot of pressure building in the United States that he can't ignore or that can't be repressed in the way that they're repressing it, and therefore there's not a lot of pressure on the president. Very sadly, because what's happening in the Gaza Strip is an absolute abomination. We've never seen anything like this in the modern world, that this civilian population with 50% children is being held captive while Israel starves the population and bombs it relentlessly with F-16s. Even during World War II, in which a population could not escape from the war zone. I mean, we've never seen anything like this. It's incredible.
Omar H. Rahman, we will have to leave it there, but thank you again for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.